Okay. So we are starting the meeting. So today's session, our today's session is on rolling contact bearing fundamentals. We are extending the previous session. So in the last session, we have learned about the types of bearing. Then you learn about the classification of a rolling contact bearing, the rolling contact bearing construction details, and static capacity of a ball bearing. That are concepts of static capacity are learned in the last lecture. Now we are extending that session to determine know about the basic fundamentals of rolling contact bearing in detail. And today we are going to cover dynamic capacity, equivalent dynamic load, and bearing selection from manufacturer's catalog. So let's go to the details. Okay. So whenever we going for any design of any component, uh, design is associated with the life of the component. Any design is associated with the bearing life. So life, we are now going to talk about bearing life, and the associated term with the bearing life is the dynamic load capacity. Let's learn about what is meant by life. Life means how long you are there on this earth. That is, say for a human being, life means from the birth to the death. That span is called as the life. So how long you are there as a living thing or working thing on the earth is called as the life. Similarly, the materials or the components we are using in the machine, they also has a life. So from the manufacturing stage, that is once they are put into the application, once they are manufactured and put into the application, their life starts. When their life ends, when they have been failed to perform a particular task, that is, if they have been broken, they have been not given a sufficient surface finish, so surface finish is deteriorated, and now they are not giving the right output, right functionality, they are not carrying out. So that moment we say the life is not there, means the component uh, has a fatigue and he has been broken or he has been cracked. Then we call that the time from which we have started using till the last moment we have used without failure, that is called the life of that component. So I am defining here the bearing life, the life of an individual, of an individual bearing is defined as the number of revolutions. Because basically, I am now talking about ball bearing. So ball bearings we are using for supporting rotating components. So this rotating component, how many number of revolutions it can make when it is supported by that ball bearing. So that is considered as a measure of the life of that bearing. That is, life of an individual ball bearing is defined as the number of revolutions. That that is the one way. Other way are hours of service at constant speed. If your application is a constant speed application, then how many hours it is running, how many hours it has been worked, which is the bearing runs. Now this will be running before first evidence of fatigue crack in balls or races. So before the balls or races, there is a probability of developing a first crack or first destroyed surface. Then, till that moment, how many revolutions are completed or how many hours of service completed if it is running at constant speed. So that time is called as the life of the individual ball bearing. So I'm once again repeating this definition of the life of individual ball bearing. The life of an individual ball bearing is defined as number of revolutions or in bracket hours of service at constant speed which the bearing runs before the first evidence of fatigue crack in balls and races. So this is called as life of the bearing. So if you take any bearing set and put into the application, so it may happen that life of that individual bearing, once you started using, till the last moment before that fatigue crack happens or failure happens, you use it. So it will vary for bearing to bearing. This will not be same. Even though if you have standard bearing of same capacity, same size, then also you will not get the same life for all the individual bearings. So then is it possible to measure the life of each and every individual bearing? No, it is not possible to measure the life of individual bearing because you have to use this in the application, and supplier has to or manufacturer has to give this information what is the average bearing life. So instead of individual ball bearing life, the concept called average life is introduced, or the minimum life. There is a concept called average life or minimum life. So there are bearings are rated. The bearing life is rated on two criteria. That is, one is average life for a group of bearings you can take and you can sample some of the bearings, and you that sample you can average it out and you can write down the average life for that group of bearings. So the sampling techniques are there. There are mathematical sampling techniques, say how, out of say 100 or out of 1,000 or out of million, how many pieces need to be tested. So their sampling technique will be applied, and based on that sample will be tested, and sample average life, individual life will be calculated, and then average life will be calculated for the sample, and that life will be applied for entire group of bearings. This is the one definition. Another way, another criteria to define is the minimum life which 90% of the bearings will reach or exceed. If I take a 100 bearings and then out of that 100 bearings, 90 bearings has to cross such minimum life, has to cross a certain minimum time period or certain minimum number of revolutions. So that is called as the minimum life concept. And maybe 90%, 80% that you can design, but mostly it is designed for 90% of the bearings will reach. So such bearing is called as the minimum life. So there are the concept of average life and minimum life. So average life concept is normally not used in the bearing design or bearing selection. Mostly the minimum life with basic criteria of 90% or sometimes other than 90% also preferred. So, but minimum life concept is defined. So based on this criteria, say based on second criteria of minimum life concept, so I am writing one definition for minimum life that is called as a rated life. This is called as a rated life. So the rated life of a group of apparently identical ball bearings, the rated life of a group of apparently identical bearings is defined as the number of revolutions or number of hours of service. If the constant speed is there, that 90% of the bearings will complete or exceed before the first evidence of fatigue crack. So 90% of the bearings will exceed before the fatigue crack. So this rated life is based on the second criteria, and this rated life is called as L10 life. This is called as L10 life, that is the life of the bearing with 90% reliability. So 90% of the bearings are completing that many number of revolutions minimum, and that minimum number of revolutions are called as the rated life of that bearing, and that rated life of the bearing is called as L10 life, that is the life with 90% reliability or probability. Understood? This definition is very important when we are selecting bearing, and most of the data is based on this rated life of L10, that is 90% reliability. So life of individual ball bearing may be different from rated life. That's I talked here the life of individual ball bearing, that is life of individual ball bearing, not necessarily same as the rated life. It may be different from the rated life. It will be different from the rated life. It may be higher, or sometimes it may be lower, but that lower percentage will be just 10%. Most of the bearings will have 90% of the bearings will have life greater than the rated life. The actual life will be greater than the rated life. Now this based on this rated life, suppose if I take a rated life of 1 million revolutions, that is I want the minimum rated life as 1 million revolutions, then how much maximum load I can apply on the bearing? So that concept is called as the dynamic load carrying capacity. So I am defining here the dynamic load carrying capacity. The dynamic load carrying capacity of a bearing is defined as the radial load in case of radial bearing or thrust load in case of thrust bearing that can be carried for a minimum life of 1 million revolutions. Minimum life of 1 million revolutions. So dynamic load capacity is associated with bearing life. So bearing life taken here is the minimum bearing life. That is minimum bearing life is what we call based on second criteria is the rated life of 1 million revolutions. So if my L10 life, that is the rated life, is equal to 1 million revolutions, and if I apply a load, either radial load, if it is radial bearing, if I apply a thrust load, if it is thrust bearing, so that load is called as the dynamic load carrying capacity of that bearing. So that is called as dynamic load carrying capacity of the bearing. So the minimum, say what I explained here, the same thing is written here. The minimum life in case of dynamic load capacity is the life with 90% reliability. Right. This is, I mean, talking about probability and reliability concept here. 90% reliability in the design and working components of the bearing. And the minimum life, what we are talking here, this minimum life is expected, is expressed as L10 life. That is the life with 90% reliability. That is life with 90% probability or 90% reliability, which 90% of the bearings will reach or exceed before fatigue failure. That L10 life is the life with where if you take a sample of any bearing, say 10 bearings or 100 bearings, out of that 90% of the bearing will reach that minimum L10 life. So that life is called as the minimum life or L10 life. So if that L10 life is equal to 1 million revolution, then the radial load or axial load acting, say only pure axial load or pure radial load acting on that bearing is called as the dynamic load capacity of that bearing. Okay, so these two concepts are very, very important concepts. If you have understood, so we can proceed further.
Hello,
So bearing
hello,
life
sir.
and
Sir,
dynamic load capacity.
hello, sir. I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, how rated life of any bearing is decided?
Rated life of bearing is decided by testing procedure. They've been tested with the help of standard load with a loading condition fixed, and that bearing is actually tested by applying load there, and it has been tested for minimum 1 revolution. It has to pass the 1 million revolution. So based on that, the rated life probability is calculated. So there are techniques to evaluate the rated life, but normally the rated life is not evaluated. Rated life will be assigned, and you will calculate or measure the dynamic load capacity. So there are the setups available to measure the dynamic load capacity. So rated life is required. Suppose I am using a mixer. I am using a mixer. So I am not using mixer 24 hours a day. So I am maybe morning and evening for full preparation. I may be using the mixer only for half an hour. Or if I am using mixer in hotel also, I will not be using mixer for throughout the day. I may be using only 3 to 4 hours of the total duration of the day. So considering that operation is intermittent operation. So I may design a bearing required for this mixer application, grinding mixing application for home, which may require, say, I require, say, minimum 10 million revolutions of life. Then I will select the bearing which will satisfy that 10 million revolution, because since I know my standard loading capacity, I am having a jar of, say, 1 liter. And in that 1 liter, 1 liter material can be loaded, 1 liter or 1 kg material can be loaded, and which need to be grinded in a particular time frame. So again, the speed of my motor is fixed. I am not changing the speed of the motor. So rated speed is there. So number of hours I'll specify. Suppose I am using this mixer and I am selling it to the customer. So I want that customer should not come with a complaint that bearing has failed within 6 months time. So I want that minimum 3 years or 5 years There should not be any problem with bearing. So considering half an hour working every day, so if I calculate for 3 years or 5 years, how many hours of service you are going to use that application. So then I will decide my rated life should be around this much capacity. So then I should select a bearing such that the load carrying capacity of that rated life which that bearing should have. So we select rated life. We don't calculate. We select the rated life for particular application, and then we calculate dynamic load capacity that I am going to explain in the further slide. So whatever remaining part of your doubt, I'll be explaining while explaining the next topic, dynamic load capacity in detail. So let's move to the next part, that is dynamic equivalent bearing load. The load acting on the bearing depends upon the what are the things mounted on the shaft, maybe pulleys, maybe gears, maybe flywheel, or any other device mounted on that shaft. Sometimes the self weight of the shaft is so heavy that weight also needs to be considered. So considering all these facts, the bearing may be the shaft may be supported at one end, may be supported at multiple points. So these multiple points we are putting bearing. So at this point, the reactions will be developed. So these reactions are nothing but the load on the bearing. So reaction supported by the bearing is called as the load on that bearing. So typically, the bearing will have two types of reaction. That is, one is radial reaction, and another is your axial reaction, depending upon the elements mounted on the shaft. So when if it is purely radial load, so the equivalent load is itself is radial load. If it is purely axial load acting on that bearing, then equivalent load is only the axial load. But most 95% cases you will experience, or in the most of the applications will have radial as well as axial load. So in actual applications, the bearing is normally subjected to radial as well as axial load. So typically, the Okay, there was disconnect with the device. So I have joined again with the voice. Can you hear me, voice? Somebody can put a message.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So let's start again with the. I will repeat because I think I have missed some points there. So the equivalent dynamic load is defined as the either radial load in case of radial bearing or thrust load in case of thrust bearing, which we applied, if applied to the bearing, would give same life as that which bearing that bearing will attain under actual condition of the forces. So equivalent load is defined. So either it will be converted into radial load or axial load depending upon the type of load acting there. So the expression for equivalent dynamic load, which is hypothetical load, is equal to P into XVFR into YFA. Please remember, this is not an algebraic sum, what we do in the resultant analysis in your theory of machine and strength of material. No, it is not. This is a different way of doing this. This is an hypothetical, and this relation XVFR plus YFA is used. Sometimes you can put a bracket here, and you can apply it by a service factor also. So, but it is not necessarily to apply a service factor for each and every application. Mostly for when we are using gear mounted on your shaft, and if that gear surface is weared out, the tooth surface is weared out, then only you can apply service factor multiplying to this whole summation. So you can calculate the equivalent dynamic load. That will be then enhanced equivalent dynamic load. So in this equivalent dynamic load, capital P is your equivalent dynamic load. Then FR, that is your radial load in Newton. FA, it's the axial load at that bearing. So FR and FA are the radial and axial components of the load supported by that bearing. In that, we have V here, that is the race factor, the race rotation factor. So V depends upon your inner race, whether it is rotating or inner race is fixed. So if you are taking case of shaft rotating in the bearing, so in that case, inner race is rotating and outer race is fixed in the housing. If you take a case of your bike wheel, the bike wheel is rotating and the shaft supporting that bike wheel is stationary. So in that case, your inner race is fixed there and outer race is rotating with bike. So based on this condition, this V factor will be taken. The value of V factor is either 1 or 1.2 depending upon the race rotation factor. Then we have two factors called X and Y, and these X and Y are called the radial and thrust factors respectively. These X and Y are called radial and thrust factor respectively. The values of X and Y, they are tabulated, and they depend, these X and Y values depend upon your static load carrying capacity, C0. Last lecture we have learned the static load carrying capacity. So the values of X and Y depends upon FR, FA and C0. So I will show the table so you can understand how these values of X and Y depends there. So the data table I am showing here. See, this is the equivalent bearing load calculation table format. In that you require X and Y values. So there are types of bearings. We have learned the types of bearings here. So based on the types of bearings and based on the value of your E value. So let's understand what is meant by this E value. This the FA by C0 value here. This is your FA by C0 value. That is axial force upon your static load carrying capacity value. So these are the different values of FA by C0. Based on the different values of FA by C0, you are also know FA and FR. So you can calculate FA upon FR. So there are standard values of E here. When E is equal to 0.22 and if your FA by FR is less than 0.22, then your X factor is equal to 1 and Y factor is equal to 0. So in this case, FA, axial force value, is less than 20%. 0.22 means what? It is less than 20% of your radial load. Then your bearing becomes like a radial bearing. Their Y component becomes 0. So Y is an axial component. Axial factor component becomes 0. And X component is a radial component. So your entire load is a radial load there. Entire load is your radial load there. If your FA is greater than 20 or 25%, or depending upon the position here, 44%. If the FA by FR is greater than E, this value means your FA value is proportionately larger or sometimes greater than your FR value also. Then in that case, your X and Y values are different. You can see there, X value is 0.56, that is your radial load factor, and Y value is your axial load factor. So depending upon FA and FR, the effect of FA will be accounted with the Y factor here. So axial load factor here. And this axial load factor varies from 1 to 2 depending upon the FA by FR ratio. So this is for deep groove ball bearing. Similar tables are available for self-aligned bearing, angular contact bearing, then spherical roller bearing and roller bearing. So based on the application, you decide the type of bearing to be used in that application. And once you select that type of bearing, you evaluate the values of FA, FR, and then you select one particular bearing. For that bearing, C naught value is available in the table. You take that value and you do the calculation and you check out X and Y factor. And from this X and Y factor, you can calculate the equivalent dynamic load on that bearing. You can calculate the equivalent dynamic on that bearing. So let's go back to the presentation again here. So this load P will and Y. This X and Y will depend upon FR, FA. This just 1 minute. This X and Y factors will depend upon this X and Y factors depends upon FR and FA as per that table. Also depends upon the C naught. So C naught is not constant. It is a static load carrying capacity of that bearing. So if you change the bearing, then C naught also changes. So this calculating equivalent dynamic load is not a real term. Equivalent is an hypothetical term. If you change the bearing, then X factor also changes, Y factor also changes, C naught also changes. Then your equivalent load for the same application also changes. So that's why it is called as hypothetical load. It is not a real concept. It is an imaginary concept. Okay. So let's go to the next slide where we are correlating now equivalent dynamic load capacity, and bearing life with a single relation. So we are writing here now load life relationship. So there are two types of load. One is your dynamic load capacity. We have defined already. That is the load, radial load, maximum radial load, which can be supported for 1 million life revolution. Then hypothetical load based on the actual working condition, that is equivalent dynamic load. So these two terms can be correlated with your bearing life, rated life, which is called as L10 life. By this relation, L10 is equal to P by P raised to P. So where L10 is your rated bearing life in terms of million revolutions. This value will be in terms of million revolutions here. C, capital C will be dynamic load capacity in Newton. This value you can calculate also. This value you are going to calculate by, if you know the bearing life and if you have calculated dynamic load, so you can calculate the bearing capacity of that bearing in actual working condition. Then capital P is your equivalent dynamic load in Newton, which we are in previous slide we have seen the derivation. Then small p, this is a factor, exponent factor. If it is a ball bearing, then we are using 3, and if it is a roller bearing, we have to use 10 by 3. So this p depends upon the type of rolling elements you are using. So for rolling elements having balls, the value of small p is 3, and rolling elements is say roller, then you will have small p is equal to 10 by 3. So if you reorganize this term for the determination of dynamic load capacity, capital C, so we can write down this relation, capital C is equal to P into L10 raised to 1 by P. So this P will come on this side, so it will be raised to 1 by P, and P will be multiplied here, so P into L10 raised to 1 by P. So where P is the equivalent dynamic load in Newton, L10 is the life in million revolution, and P is the constant depending upon the rolling element. So now the relation between the life in million revolution, that is conversion from one and life in working hours. So sometimes we express the life in million revolution, sometimes we can express the life in working hours. So we should convert from one part to the another part, or from hours to MR, or million. MR means million revolution, MR to hours. So this following relation will be used, that is L10 in million revolution is equal to 60 into the constant speed, that is N RPM, N into L10 in hours. Suppose you are expecting a life of say 2000 hours. So you can write down here L10 in hours as 2000 hours divided by 10 raised to 6. So if you put that value here, the speed, constant speed of application, and the expected life here in terms of hours, you can calculate the rated life in terms of million revolution. Or if you know the million revolution, suppose you know the static capacity, if you know the dynamic load, and you from that you calculate a million revolution, so you can calculate the replacing cycle, how many hours, after how many hours I have to replace this bearing. So you can put the value of L10 million revolution here, and you can calculate that L10 million revolution will come from this relation. So if you know the C and P value, you can calculate this L10, and you can put in this equation to get the value of L10 in hours. So if we know that after 5,000 hours of life, we have to replace this bearing. So whether it is failed or not, normally bearings are replaced after a standard schedule. So that standard schedule you can determine in terms of hours here. So L10H is rated bearing life in hours, and N is the speed of rotation, constant speed of rotation in RPM here. So from that we can convert from one life from MR to hours or hours to MR. Okay, so this is very important concept, that is writing this L10 in terms of C by P, and this equation is very important. So from this equation you can calculate the dynamic load capacity at that application when you use a particular bearing. If you change the bearing, then this value of C will change. So there are table values available for dynamic capacity, and this is your calculated value. So calculated value has to be lesser than the table value, then only we can use that bearing into the application. So now my next step is how to select bearing. So what is the standard procedure? So there is a standard procedure. Before going for standard procedure of selection of bearing, let's understand how the bearing is designated. So my next slide is on bearing designation. Okay, so bearing designation, basically minimum 4 or 5 digits are used, and depending upon the manufacturer, they can enhance to the more values of, they can add suffix, they can add prefix there, they can add suffix as well as prefix there. So designation of bearing consists of digits, basically alphanumeric digits. It consists of like your Aadhaar card number, or say your PAN card number. So I am talking about that. The rolling contact bearings are usually designated by 3 to 4 digits, 5 digits. Now they are keeping on adding the number of digits, but minimum it is 4 digits. The meaning of these 3 digits, if I go from the right side, the last 2 digits, right side say, the last 2 digits indicate the bore diameter of the bearing. So, but it is not expressed in millimeter directly. So the bore diameter in millimeter will be divided by 5. Suppose if you have 40 mm diameter as a shaft diameter there, so bearing hole has to have 40 mm diameter. So the 2 digits associated with that 40 mm will be written by dividing by 5. So 40 divided by 5. So last 2 digits in the designation of the bearing will be 0. If it is 100, then it will be 20. So for example, XX07. So this last 2 digits, 07 indicates here bearing of 30 mm bore diameter. So 07 into 5 becomes the bore diameter, that is 35 mm. Then the third digit, so this third digit here, in that bearing designation, indicates the series of the bearing. What is the type of series of the bearing? So series of the bearing indicates the working nature of that bearing, whether it is a light series, medium duty, heavy duty. So if you are using extra light series, 1 is used, light series 2 is used, medium series 3 is used, and heavy duty series 4 is used. So this number here, third digit number here, this may be 1, 2, 3 depending upon the application. And the fourth digit, sometimes the fifth digit, if required, additional digit will be there. So here, fourth digit here, or the additional digit from the right specifies the type of rolling contact bearing. That is, what type of bearing we are designating there. So 6 is used for indicating the deep groove ball bearing. 2 is indicated for your spherical roller bearing. Similarly, different indication self-aligning bearing, there is 2 is indicated. So 6 indicates deep groove ball bearing. So in this we have 6207, means it is 62 series bearing with 35 diameter. 6207 means it is a deep groove ball bearing having light series having 35 mm diameter. So the first number in that there may be one more additional digit. So first number indicates the width series. Suppose if you want to add the width series, how much width we have. So width is varying from 8 to 6 again. 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't confuse this 8 is bigger. 8 is not bigger here. 8 width is lesser than 0th width series and 6 width series is the highest width for any category. Similarly, in that second number indicates the diameter series. Diameter series. Diameter, we can increase the outside diameter here by keeping inside diameter same to vary the load carrying capacity of the bearing. So what I have talked about the series here, four light series 1, 2, 3, 4 are there, but below that light series, extra light series are also there. That is 7, 8, 9, 0. So 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These indicates the diameter series. So you can, if there is a provision to increase your outside diameter of the bearing, that is outer race diameter. So you can increase this outer diameter to vary the load carrying capacity of that bearing. That is dynamic load carrying capacity of the bearing. So this number 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, they are in the ascending outer diameter of the bearing. They are increasing diameter. So fourth is the having highest diameter and seventh will have the lowest diameter. You may ask, sir, why it has been kept 7, 8, 9 less. It has not been taken here because initially they started designing bearing of only 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they thought we can have still smaller capacity bearing. Then they designed 0. But 0, there is a negative behind this. So they added further series of lower load carrying capacity by putting 7, 8, 9 in the opposite direction. That is in the below 0. So these are the extra light series having lesser diameter. So if the diameter of say 6 to 1, if I take say 6 to 07, so this is the 2 series say 6 to 07. So 07 means 35 mm diameter inside. Now outside diameter for this may be say 60 mm. Now suppose I don't want that 60 mm diameter outside diameter, I want to reduce. So I can use this lower size here. Instead of 2, I can use then 8, 9, 0, 1 and I can design a new bearing there. So this is for designation of bearing. So one such chart I am showing for designation here, that is a escape chart. There are different types of manufacture. Since we are going to refer escape chart, so I am showing here escape designation here. So they may write their name escape, then they may write the 6308. ये minimum designation है, इसके आगे भी रहता है, पीछे भी रखता है. We can add number of words, number of digits also. So 6 indicates here deep groove ball bearing. If you use 2, then it is spherical roller bearing. If you use 3, taper roller bearing. Then 3 indicates here the diameter series. That is the heavy duty. That is the series of the application. So the 3 indicates here medium series. And this 08 indicates here the inside bore diameter of the bearing. That is the shaft diameter where this bearing is to be mounted. So 8 into 5, that is means this is for 40 mm shaft. This bearing is for 40 mm shaft. So this is very short designation I am shown here. So this short designation I am showing here again. So this is I am showing with 5 digits. So this is with 4 digits. So this is the 5 digit designation. So last 2 digit I have told. Last 2 digits tells about the shaft size. So which is expressed as D by 5. This last 2 digits expressed as D by 5. So they will have 0, 7, 8, 10. So this can be taken up to 99. So 99 into 5. So it will have say around 450 mm and no bearing above 500 mm diameter will use rolling element. Very, very rare case, special application, only the above 500 mm diameter of the shaft, they will use the rolling contact bearing. Then we have 3 digits here. Okay. So these 3 digits call it is bearing series. So here there are different bearing series you can see here. These are the different bearing series here. So based on this bearing series, in that bearing series, these 2 digits talks about dimension series. So dimension series are shown here. These are the dimension series here. So this is the diameter series and this is the width series. If it is the radial bearing, it is width series. If it is thrust bearing, then it is the height of that bearing. So height series. So 7912 is for thrust bearing as a height parameter, and 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are used for the width, varying width of the bearing. Then 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are used for the outside diameter of that bearing. So outside diameter of the bearing. So these two parameters, this parameter, especially this parameter is for diameter series, and this parameter is for either width series if it is radial bearing, or thrust, if it is thrust bearing, then it is the height parameter. This parameter is the height parameter, and this parameter is your series parameter depending upon your type of bearing. So if I say this is my dip groove ball bearing of 6, this is the angular contact bearing with 7, this is your normal roller contact bearing with 8, then this is your spherical roller with C, or you can use spherical roller in this form also, that is true. Double row, say deep groove ball bearing, angle, say 0. Double row cell planning bearing with 1. So this indicates the series of the bearing. The first word or first three words or first two words, depending upon the application, indicates the bearing series. So you can see here 033 series, 139 series, 223 series, 323 series, 323 series for it's for taper roller bearing. It is for taper roller bearing. This bearing indicates a taper roller bearing. And six series, that is 6 series is for the deep groove ball bearing, single row ball bearing. So 620, 638 series, 628 series, 618 series, depending upon your width and diameter series, you can have numerous series. See, they have given very little number of variation here. Then we can have angular contact bearing. So this indicates here the type of bearing. This is the escape nomenclature. I am very particular here. There is a Timken nomenclature. Timken is a Japan company. Escape is a Swedish company. There are almost 9 to 10 major bearing manufacturers, and they have their own nomenclature methodology. So this methodology of here I am explaining you, it's an ISO methodology of escape nomenclature of bearing. And escape almost has six, it is in sixth revenue wise, it's in sixth company, sixth rank, having sixth rank. So there are majority of the companies are Japanese companies here. Almost 9 to 10 companies are there. Out of that 9 to 10 companies, 7 companies are Japanese company. Only one Swedish company and one USA company is there in that listed company. So most of the bearings are manufactured by these top 10 companies. And then there are the other companies also, Indian companies are also there, but they manufacture very less number of bearings, or they manufacture the bearings for this big brand. Okay, so this nomenclature is very important. Unless you know the nomenclature, you cannot use the data in the PSG. So in the PSG data, the data given is for escape bearing for certain series. It is not given for all series. Few series, out of these few series, they have tabulated data is available, and based on the tabulated data, we are going to select the bearing for our application. Okay, so next slide, I am going to read out the algorithm process for bearing selection from manufacturer's catalog. So these steps are very, very critical steps, and each and every time when we are selecting bearing, all these steps need to be followed. So basic procedure of selection of bearing from manufacturer's catalog is as follows. So to select a bearing, you should have manufacturer's catalog in your hand. So data, you should have data table of that associated bearing with you. Then only you can start selecting process. So first step, you have to calculate radial and axial forces acting on the bearing and determine the diameter of the shaft where the bearing is to be fitted. So this is the first basic step. Many times the diameter of the shaft is specified or given in the problem, but sometimes you have to calculate based on the strength requirement, and then you can calculate the support reaction at that particular bearing location. So radial as well as axial forces you need to calculate. For this, you should know the calculation of beam reaction. So the beam reaction concept will come to here, and this beam reaction nothing but radial and axial forces. Once you calculate these forces, then you have to select a type of bearing. If there is a light load, we go for normally for needle bearing, or we go for a roller type needle bearing, or we go for single row ball bearing. In that also, if load is increasing, then we go for deep groove ball bearing. So selecting the type of bearing for given application. If there is say axial loads is there and axial load is bigger, then we have to go for say taper roller bearing, or you have to go for spherical roller bearing, which is put in inclined manner, or you have to go for deep groove ball bearing, which can take to some extent the axial load also. So type of bearing depends upon the given application. So these tables are also available. So you can select for that your experience is matters here. While selecting the type of bearing, your experience, what type of load is coming, how you evaluate, what is the magnitude of that forces. Based on that, you have to select the type of bearing. Unless you select the type of bearing, you cannot refer a catalog. Once you come to know a type of bearing, then you can check out the catalog of that type of bearing. So next step, based on the catalog, based on the selected catalog, you select one bearing by a random selection. Random means with some experience, you will do that random selection. So you determine the values of x and y factor, the way I have shown the table. So from that table, you calculate x and y factor based on FA by, it is actually FA by FR, printing mistake here, and FA by C naught, where C naught is the static load capacity. So based on this selected bearing, for selected bearing, you calculate x and y. For selected bearing, next step you calculate equivalent dynamic load by this relation x VFR upon y. Then they decide the one question by student. So how to select the expected life? So decide about expected life. So this comes from the experience, design experience or application experience. There are the table available. There are the standard table available for expected life. So from that table, based on your application, you can select the expected life from the table, and that table life, if it is in hours, you have to express in million revolution. So if that our life is in hours, you express that L10 life in revolution. That is the step number E. And then step number F, based on this L10 and based on the X and Y value, you have calculated capital P here. You have calculated capital P in this D. So calculate dynamic load capacity from this relation. P is equal to P into L10 raised to 1 by P. So this is the calculated capacity. This calculated capacity need to be checked with that bearing a table value. The table value of C is also available for that bearing. So check whether the selected bearing of series, of particular series, has required dynamic capacity or not. This value, calculated value, has to be lesser than the table value for that bearing. If the table value is small, then you have to go, then what happens? If not, if this value is not lesser and this value is greater than the table value, then you have to select the bearing of next series. आपने suppose 62 का किया था, 62 series का लिया था deep groove ball bearing of medium capacity, say 2, say light capacity or heavy capacity. Then you can go for, instead of 62, you can go for 63 series. If 6-3 is selected and not possible, then you can go for 6-4 series. So you have to, if this condition is not satisfied, then you have to select the bearing of next series and repeat the step C onwards. From this step C, again you have to repeat this process. So bearing selection from manufacturer's catalog, this is an algorithm process, but in this algorithm process also, this is a trial and error method. There is bearing selection is a trial and error method. So to use a trial and error method, you require appropriate experience. You require to have proper knowledge of the application where this bearing is to be used. Then only you can select the right bearing for right application, and then your design becomes safe or selection becomes safe. So what I told starting this chapter, that we are not going to design the bearing, we are going to select the bearing. So to select the bearing, you require manufacturer's catalog. So I am showing one such manufacturer's catalog for one particular, say, let's say go for 62 series catalog. I am showing the catalog from, just 1 minute, I'll download it. Okay, so this is the rolling contact bearing data. So let's say you see the 62 series bearing. There are table values here. This is the 6 series bearing, deep groove ball bearing of 0 series. This is the deep groove ball bearing of second series. That is 6 indicates deep groove ball bearing, 2 indicates the next series, that is 62 series. So in that we have different bearings here. So these are the different bearings here. Suppose I select, I want my bearing diameter, say bearing diameter is, means my shaft diameter is say 40 mm. So this is my 40 mm bearing here of 62 series. So bearing, this is the international designation for that. And this is the designation of escape. Escape designation is 6208. So 62 is not written here, means it is understood. This is 6206, 6207, and this is 6208. So bearing number is 6208. The equivalent number, just I'll take it up so you can see it because it is coming at the bottom. So 6208 bearing having the bore diameter 40 mm. So these are the various parameter. Width, the width here is B, that is 18 mm. Then these are the radius. What I have talked about is the static capacity as well as dynamic capacity. These are the tabulated values for the particular bearing. So the static capacity here is 1600 kgf. You have to convert it into Newton. So this will be 1600 into 10, that is 60,000 Newton. So static load carrying capacity of this bearing is 60,000 Newton. Dynamic load carrying capacity of this bearing is 22,800 Newton, because this is in kgf. So I'm expressing in Newton. So 22,800 Newton. So whatever you calculate there, if that value is less than this value, then this bearing can be selected. If this value is smaller than the calculated value, if that value you have calculated the dynamic load capacity by that relation, if that value, calculated value is greater than this value, tabulated value here for 40 mm diameter bearing of 6208 specification, then this bearing cannot be selected. Then you have to go for a next series bearing under deep groove bearing. Suppose you want to use deep groove ball bearing, then there is a next series, say 63 series here, that is having 40 mm diameter, say 40 mm diameter. So 6308 bearing, 40 mm diameter. Now you can see the dynamic capacity here is greater than the 62 series. Eventually it may happen that your calculated value may be lesser than this value. Then you can select 6308 bearing and your design can be completed. Your design can be completed. So for that again you have to repeat that process from step C onward, C to F, all that process you need to calculate. Then based on this dynamic load capacity, the maximum speed, permissible speeds are there. Mostly these conditions are normally satisfied. Normally the bearing will fail under dynamic load capacity. So this is very, very important deciding factor. Otherwise you have to do the trial and error. Or if not possible, then you can go for roller bearing. You can go for different type of bearing. You can change the type of bearing. If all the series are exhausted, then you can change the bearing. So selecting right type of bearing and then selecting right series is the design experience. That is the selection experience will tell you how to select the right bearing for right application. Okay, so this is regarding the selection of the bearing from the manufacturer's catalog. These are the escape catalog put in the our PhD data book. I will upload this data in a classroom. So whenever we will solve the problem in the next session, so that time you can refer this data. Okay, so we have almost completed my steps here. So what type of bearing you have selected, you calculate XY factor, you calculate P, you calculate C, then you calculate, compare with the table. If this value is not permissible, then you go back again to C, again you change the series, again you do this calculation till you arrive the final solution. So this is then a trial and error method, repeated method, so iterative method. So sometimes if you do the selection right, your calculation will be done in single step, but a single iteration, or sometimes you may have to do this iteration 2 or 3 times. So based on your, I will explain whenever we solve the problem, typical problem, I will give you the hint how to go for a selection, right selection, so that you can select your bearing within minimum iteration, either first iteration itself or maybe maximum second iteration. Okay, so we will stop here. So if you have any query, you can put in the message, or you can directly unmute your speaker and you can ask. Okay, we have finished the topic here. If you have any query, you can ask.